Okay, so good morning, dear students. See, in the last class, we have discussed about the that is data pre-processing. Okay, so as we all know, data pre-processing is one of the key elements of KDD process, where we will be converting the data from source format to the format that is required for performing the data analysis using data mining. Okay, so in that we have seen one of the technique of data pre-processing, that is aggregation, where we will be combining the data from two or more objects, and it will be kept as a single object in an aggregation process. Okay, so then we have seen what are the that is advantages and what are the disadvantages of aggregation, and also explained the definition of sampling in the last class. Okay, I'll just repeat that again. See, again, sampling is one of the kind of pre-processing technique. Okay, so with the help of which we can select only a subset of data objects here, which are required for analysis. See, as I mentioned in the last class, says in case of statistics, in order to perform the experiments, see, they need to collect a large quantity of data. Okay, so if they want to perform their experiments on large quantity of data, then it will be time consuming and also expensive. Okay, so in order to avoid that, statisticians, see, they will be using sampling in order to select only a subset of data. Okay, and also if we come to the data mining, see, data miners again, they can't perform their data mining algorithms or the operations on the entire set of data, because it will be expensive and time consuming. So instead of that, see, using the sampling method or the algorithm, see, they are going to reduce the data set size here. Okay, so that they can easily perform the expensive algorithm on that sample of data. Okay, so in case of sampling, say, it is one of the commonly used approach for selecting subset of the data objects to be analyzed. So I had given one example. Say if you go to hospital, okay, so if they want to perform any kind of that is testing, okay, for example, blood test. Okay, so what they are going to do is they will be collecting a sample. Instead of collecting the whole blood, they will be taking only a sample. Okay, so in the same way, so in case of data mining, so we can't perform the operations on the entire set of data. The data set will be very large here. So in because if we perform the operations on the entire data, it will be expensive and also time consuming. So instead of that, we can choose only a subset of data here. On that subset of data, we can perform the operations or the data mining algorithms. So if we get the sample of data from the large data set, we can easily perform any expensive algorithm on that data set. Even statisticians, see, they will be using the sampling approaches in order to get a sample of data here, so that they can perform their experiments, because collecting the entire set of data will be very expensive and also time consuming. So because of these reasons, sampling will be used. I told one more thing, that is about the principle of effective sampling. Okay, so in case of sampling approaches, see, we need to choose the sample such that it is represented. So representative means that, see, if you perform the operation on the sample, it has to give the same result if you perform the operation on the entire data set. So if you're running an algorithm on the sample, see, the result which you're going to get by running the algorithm on that sample, it must be equal to the result which you're going to get once you perform the algorithm on the entire data set. So if you get the same result, then we are going to say that the sample is representative. So the sampling is based on that key principle. Okay, that is, if you are using a sample, see, it has to work almost equal to the entire data set. Okay, so if you want your sample to be representative, it has to have the same characteristics or the features as that of the entire data set. Okay, so then we will be saying that the sample is representative. So for example, see, if you are performing the mean operation, okay, so mean operation on the data set, see, if you are performing the operation on the sample of data objects, see, you'll get some result here. And if you perform the same operation, mean operation, on the entire data set, you'll get some result here for mean operation. If you compare these two results, they must be approximately equal. If they are approximately equal, then we can say that this sample of data objects is representative. So on that representative principle, this sampling technique is based. Okay. So now coming to the next thing, that is about the types of samplings. Okay, so here we have got three different kinds of sampling approaches or the techniques here. So first one is simple random sampling. Second one is stratified sampling. Okay, so that is the second one. And third one is progressive sampling. So totally we have got three different kinds of sampling here. Simple random sampling, stratified sampling, and then third one is progressive sampling. Okay, so let's see what exactly these techniques are now. Okay, so first one is simple random sampling. So as the name says here, random sampling. So here we will be choosing the objects to form the sample in random. There is no that is method to select any of the objects here. So for example, say if I want to choose a CR in your class, see what I can do is I can follow this method. So I can choose any person randomly to become a class representative. That is randomly I'm choosing the objects here to form the sample. Okay, so for example, if you got 20 objects here, you can choose any of the objects here, whether it is first object, second object, or third, or 20th object. So each and every object has got the equal probability for selection. Okay, that is simple random sampling. So randomly we can choose any object to form the sample. So in case of simple random sampling, say we will be choosing the objects or we will be forming the sample here where each and every item or the object has got the equal probability of selection. So any object can be chosen to form the sample here. So that is simple random sampling. So as I said, see if you want to form a class representative in your class, any person can be chosen, whether he's a boy or a girl. Okay, so I will choose any one student as a class representative. That is randomly choosing it. Okay, so in this again, see we have got two different kinds of sampling. So one is sampling without replacement, and second one is sampling with replacement. Okay, so see here, in case of sampling without replacement, see once you choose any item here, see it will be removed from this set of objects here. You can't choose the same object again for forming the sample. Okay, so if you are choosing an object here, for example, if you have got 10 objects, 1 2 and so on 10, so in that, for example, if I choose the object 3 and if I place that in the sample, and again I can't choose the object 3 in order to place that in the sample, so that object will 3 will be removed from the sample once it is selected to form the sample. See, as each item is selected, it will be removed from the set of all objects that together constitute the population. See, population is nothing but collection of data objects here. See, from that collection of data objects, you will be choosing one data object here and you will be placing that in the sample. See, once you place that in the sample, again, you can't choose the same data object in order to form the sample. As I said, if you have got 10 objects, see in that 10 object, if you choose the object 3, see again, I can't choose the object 3 and I can't place that in the sample. It must be removed from the sample. So the same object can't appear 2 or more times in the sample. That is sampling without replacement. Okay, so for example, see if you that is I want to choose a CR here, and if I'm choosing 3 students to contest for that CR. Okay, so I'll choose the 3 students out of your, that is total 69 students, that is collection. Okay, so again I can't choose the same students, or I can't mention the same students name as the contestants for that is forming the CR here. Okay, so the same students, they can't appear many times in that list. You can't mention the same student's name multiple times in the list. That is the one of the example. Okay, so once you choose any object here, so the same object cannot be placed in the sample again. That is sampling without replacement. But in sampling with replacement, see here, see even though you choose one of the object and if you place that in the sample, see again the same sample will be kept in the collection of objects and it can be chosen more than once. That is sampling with replacement. Exactly opposite of sampling without replacement. So here objects are not removed from the population as they are selected for the sample. If you have got the collection of 10 objects here, okay, so in that 10 objects, for example, again, if I choose the object 3 and if I place that in the sample, See again, see that object 3 will be kept in the collection of objects in the population. See again, if you want, you can choose the same object 3 and again you can place that in the sample. So here the object will not be removed. See, once you choose that object to form the sample here. Okay, so in the sampling with replacement, the same object can be picked more than once. See, if you are choosing the object 3, the same object 3 can appear more than once in the sample. So in the same way, if you choose object 6, see you can place that object 6 3 times, 4 times in the sample. Okay, so each object, say it can appear multiple times here. Okay, so then which one is better here, sampling without replacement or sampling with replacement? See, both the approaches, they will be giving you the same result. Okay, but suppose see if you consider the sampling with replacement, say it will be somewhat easy to analyze compared to sampling without replacement. Sampling with replacement is easier because see each object will be having equal probability for selection here, because the same object can appear multiple times in the sample. So since you have got the opportunity here, that is opportunity for choosing the same object more than once. Okay, so each object will be having equal opportunity or the probability here, so it will be somewhat easier to analyze compared to sampling without replacement. So now coming to the disadvantage of simple random sampling. Okay, so simple random sampling, see sometimes it will not be able to represent the objects which are going to appear infrequently in the data. So if some of the types of objects, say if they are appearing very less frequently, okay, so then it cannot represent that correctly in the sample. Such objects will not be represented correctly using simple random sampling. Okay, so this is going to cause the problem here, because see suppose if you want to represent all types of objects in the sample, then it will not be effective in representing such types of objects here. It is not going to consider the objects which are going to appear less frequently here. Okay, so if you have got collection of objects here with the different types, and if each of these different types of objects they have got number of objects here, say simple random sampling will not be able to represent the objects that are going to appear less frequently. And this is going to cause you the problem, because see if you want to represent all of the objects in the sample, then since this approach doesn't represent the less frequent objects, then it is going to create the problem. Okay, so this is about the simple random sampling. See, in the simple random sampling, say we will be choosing any object here to form the sample. So each and every object will be having equal probability for selection. You can choose any object. Okay, it is not necessary that you need to choose first object, second object, or nth object. See, every object will be having its own probability of selection. In this, we have got two different kinds of sampling. So one is sampling without replacement, and second one is sampling with replacement. So in case of sampling without replacement, see, once you choose any object or the item here, see, it will be removed from the population here. So you can't choose the same object and you can't choose that in the sample again. So it will be removed from the set of objects here that are going to form the population. Okay. Yeah, and the second one is sampling with replacement, which is exactly opposite of sampling without replacement. See, where even though you choose the object to form the sample here, the same object will be kept again in the population. So that object will be having more than one probability for the selection. Okay. So once the objects you will be choosing for the selection, see the objects will not be removed here from the population, they will be kept again. Okay. So in this technique, this the same object, see, it can be picked or it can be kept more than once in the sample. Okay. So among these two, see this sampling with replacement is easier to analyze, because see each and every object will be having equal probability of selection. Okay, so this one is simpler compared to sampling without replacement. And disadvantage of this is, say this simple random sampling, see suppose if you have got different types of objects, and in those each types of objects, if you have got many number of objects, then this simple random sampling will not be able to represent the objects that are going to appear less frequently. So less frequent objects Okay, they don't have the probability of selection in case of simple random sampling, and this is going to create the problem. See, suppose if you want to perform the analysis using all types of objects. Okay, so this is one of the disadvantage of simple random sampling. So this is first sampling technique. Now coming to the second one, that is stratified sampling. Okay, so in case of stratified sampling, see, in the population or the collection of objects, we will not be having single objects here. We'll be having group of objects or collection of objects like this. See, here this represents the population here. See, it is not representing a single object. Okay, in the collection, we will be having many groups here, many groups of objects. Okay, so from those groups of objects, we will be choosing some of the objects to form the sample. So in simplest technique, what we can do is, see, we can select equal number of objects from each of these groups. Okay, so if you have got 10 groups here, two objects can be picked from each of these groups. That is one of the simplest method. Okay, suppose if you want, suppose if the groups have got different sizes here, then second technique is, say, based on the group size, you can select the objects here. For example, in the first group, if you have got 10 objects, you can choose one object for sample. Okay, so if this object, group of objects has got the size 20, you can choose two objects here. If this has got the size 30, then you can choose three objects to form the sample. Here, if the size is 40, then you can choose four objects here. So based on the size also, you can choose the number of objects to form the sample here. So in case of stratified sampling, say, we will be having the group of objects here. From those group of objects, we will be choosing the objects to form the sample here. So here, for example, I got the 10 groups of objects here. So in the simplest technique, what I can do is, see, regardless of the size here, okay, so I can choose equal number of objects from each of the groups. So for example, I can choose two objects from each of these 10 groups to form the population. This is one of the technique. So one more technique is based on the size of the group. So if the size of the group is large, then I can choose a large number of objects to form the sample. See here, if the size of this first group is 10, I can choose one object. If the size of second group is 20, then I can choose two objects. And here, if this size is 30, then I can choose three objects. So based on the size, the number of objects drawn is going to differ here. Okay. So this is about the second technique. So now, see, the thing is, see, we have chosen the that is sampling technique, whether it is simple random sampling or stratified sampling or progressive sampling. Now the thing is, we need to decide on the proper sample size. What should be the sample size? Okay, so if you choose the smaller sampler size, okay, so in that, see, you may miss some of the patterns or the objects, see, which are very important to perform my analysis. If the sample size is small, then see, it will not be representative. Okay, so you may miss some of the objects or the patterns. Okay, so that may be helpful for my analysis. That is when the sample size is small. Suppose if the sample size is large, okay, so at that time, see, even though the sample is representative, see, it is not going to give you the advantage of sampling. So you know what is the advantage of sampling. So in case of sampling, we will be selecting only a subset of objects here. Okay, so if you choose or keep the sample size larger, then it will not be having the benefits of sampling. Okay, so the thing is, we need to choose the appropriate sample size here, whether it is large or small. Say, larger sample size, it will not be taking the advantage of sampling here. If you keep the sample size small, then see, we will not be able to form a sample that is representative. We may miss some of the patterns which are helpful for our analysis. Then how we need to decide the sample size? For example, so let us consider this example. See here, we have got 10 groups of objects or clusters here. Total 10 clusters are present. Okay, so from each of these clusters, I need to choose one representative point to form the sample here. So total 10 groups are present here. So I need to choose one representative point out of these collection of objects. So how I can choose that? So you know what a cluster is. So in case of clusters, see, the objects which are present in the same cluster, they will be very similar to each other compared to objects which are present in different clusters. See, the objects which are present in first cluster, they will be having almost same similarity compared to the objects which are present in other clusters. That is a cluster. Okay. So now the thing is, I need to choose one point from each of these 10 clusters to form the sample. Okay, then how I can choose that? Okay, so the thing is, see what we can do is, we can form a small sample here that contains the data points. Okay, so we can form a small sample. Okay, so for example, in this group, we can form one sample. Okay, so in that sample, we'll be finding the point-wise similarity between the data points. So that is, we'll be finding how much similar the data objects or the points are. Okay, so that is using distance metric, we will be calculating. So once we calculate that distance, okay, so we will be choosing the desired representative point. Okay, so that has got the less point wise, that is, or less distance compared to the central point. Okay, so the point which has got the less distance, okay, so that is the point wise similarity which is less here. So that point will be chosen as the representative point to form the sample here. Okay, so don't bother much about this example, just try to understand this one, this technique. Okay, so in this we will be having group of objects here. From those group of objects, we will be choosing the objects to form the sample. So in the simplest of techniques, what we can do it, we can choose a equal number of objects from each of these groups of objects. That is one technique. Second technique is, say, based on the group size, we can choose here. Okay, so if the size is smaller, then we can pick less number of objects. If the size is larger, then we can pick a large number of objects. Okay, so one example is, see here, we need to determine the proper sample size. So if you have got the less sample size, then smaller sample size, say it will not be able to represent the all the patterns or the objects in the sample since the size is small here. So we will not be able to perform the analysis properly. Suppose if the size is larger, sample size is larger, then even though it is representative, so we will not be able to take the advantage of sampling. So for that, he has given one example here. See, in this, we need to form one point, representative point from each of the 10 clusters here in order to form a sample. So in the simplest thing, what we can do is, see, from each of these data objects, okay, so we can choose one center point, okay, and then we will calculate the distance of or the similarity of the other data points from that center point. Okay, so we will be choosing the object which has got the lesser distance to the central point. Okay, that will be chosen as a representative point to form the sample here. Okay, so again in the second thing, again same distance calculation will be done, and the object which has got the less distance to the center, that will be chosen as a representative point. So here this graph, it is showing the probability of selection of the objects to form the sample here. So suppose if the sample size is less, okay, so then the probability of selection of the objects from this 10 groups of objects is also less. You can see here it is approximately 0. Okay, then if you increase the sample size 20, then the probability of selection of each of the object to form the sample is 20%. And again, if you increase the sample size to 30, so it has probability of selection of each of the data objects from each of the clusters here, that is 60%. Okay, so as you increase the sample size, then there is more probability of selection of the data objects here. Okay. So this is about the second type of sampling. Now coming to the third type of sampling, that is the progressive sampling. Okay, so as we have seen in the previous, that is second type of sampling. Okay, so where there is a difficulty in determining the sample size. Okay, so here, see, in order to avoid that difficulty, we can use the progressive sampling. So progressive sampling, see, it will be used whenever, see, it is difficult to determine the correct sample size. So if you are unable to determine the sample size, then you can go for this progressive sampling. Okay, so in this progressive sampling, what we are going to do is, so we will be starting with this small sample here, and with that time we will be increasing the sample size, say, until you are going to get the sample that is required for your data analysis. So initially the sample size will be, for example, 10 objects. So again, after some time, you will be increasing to 20 objects. And then after again some time you will be increasing it to 30 objects. Progressively you will be increasing the sample size here until you are going to get the sufficient sample size. Okay, so this is about the progressive sampling. So this technique, see, it will be used whenever see, you can't determine the correct sample size. Okay, so that is one of the advantage. So in case of progressive sampling, see, whenever there is a difficulty in determining the correct sampling size, we can go for this third technique. So in this, we will be progressively increasing the sample size here. Initially, we will be having a sample that is of smaller size, and then after some time we will be increasing it, and again after some time we will be increasing it until we get the sufficient sample. We will be continuing that process. So when we can use this technique, see, this will be used whenever we are not able to determine the correct sample size. Okay, so this is about the three different kinds of sampling. Okay, so now coming to the next topic, that is dimensionality reduction. Okay, so till now we have discussed about the two data pre-processing techniques. So first one is that is about the aggregation, and second one is about the sampling. Okay, so third technique is about the dimensionality reduction. See, as the name says here, dimensionality reduction is nothing but reducing the number of dimensions which are present in the data. Okay, so I had given one of the example of that is type of data, that is document data. Okay, so I'll just show it to you people again. So document data. Okay, so see here, this is the document data. Okay, so in this document data, see, the data has been represented in the form of document vector. So this is a document vector, and the component of the vector is how many times that word is appearing in that document, that has been represented as the component of that vector. Okay, so see here, totally we have got approximately 10 words here which are appearing in these three documents. Okay, so in the document data, data has been represented in the form of a vector, and the component of the vector is the number of times the word is appearing in the document. So this team of word, it is appearing 3 times here, and then ball is appearing 0 times in the document one. So each and every word that is appearing in the document is represented as a attribute here, and that value is specified. Okay, so here 10 words are appearing that has been represented as attribute. Suppose in a document, if you have got 10,000 words, then all those 10,000 words must be represented as attributes here. Okay, suppose if it increases to 1 lakh, then we need to represent the attributes or the dimensions as 1 lakh. If it is 10 lakhs, then we need to represent 10 lakh attributes. So it will be quite difficult to deal with the data that is having large number of attributes of the dimensions. So in case of document data, see, the number of dimensions, they are going to increase here. So as there is increase in the number of words in the document. So here we have got 10 words. So 10 words have been represented as 10 attributes here or dimensions. So if you have got 10,000 words, then 10,000 attributes will be appearing in that document data. Okay, so it will be quite difficult to analyze such kind of data which has got large number of dimensions. So in order to avoid that, so we will be using dimensionality reduction technique. So in case of dimensionality reduction technique, say we will be reducing the number of dimensions or the attributes which are present in the data. So the example, same thing, whatever I explained just now by taking that example. So the data set that has got the large number of features, so it will be having more number of that is documents, and each document will be having a vector. That vector component will be number of times that word is appearing in that document. So it will be difficult to perform the analysis on this kind of data. So what I need to do, so I need to reduce the number of dimensions of the attributes here so that I can efficiently perform my data analysis. Okay. Then what are the advantages of dimensionality reduction? Okay. So see here, see, as I said, many of the expensive data mining algorithms, see, they are going to work very efficiently if the dimensionality of the data is small or the number of attributes which are present in the data is less. If you have got less number of attributes or the dimensions, then all the expensive data mining algorithms, they are going to work very efficiently, because the number of operations or the processing will be less here in the less number of dimensions or the attributes. So these algorithms are going to work very efficiently here. See, the reason is, see, in the low dimensional data, we will not be having irrelevant attributes which are having noise. Noise data and the irrelevant attributes will be less. See, if the irrelevant attributes and the noise is removed, then the curse of dimensionality problems will also be reduced. See, you know what is curse of dimensionality. See, as you increase the number of attributes or the dimensions, it is going to consume a large amount of storage space. So if you got less number of dimensions, then less amount of storage space will be required, because there will be less number of irrelevant and the noise which is present in such data. So this is one of the advantage. That is, many of the data mining algorithms say they are going to work with the less dimensional data. That is the data which has got the less number of attributes here, because it is going to reduce the irrelevant features, and also it is going to reduce the noise here, because curse of dimensionality will be reduced. Okay. So second advantage of using dimensionality reduction is, see, the model will be very understandable. See, if you have got a less dimensional data, see, the whatever model, see, you will be constructing, that model will be very understandable. If you look at the model, you can easily understand, so what is that kind of model is. Okay, so the data which has got the less dimensions, see, it will be very understandable model. Okay, so and the third advantage of using dimensionality reduction is, see, you can easily visualize the data using dimensionality reduction. Okay, because this dimensionality reduction technique, it is going to reduce the number of attributes. So since there is less number of attributes, we can easily visualize that data. We can easily represent that in the graphical format, and we can easily see what is the relationship in the data. That can be easily visualized. That is the third advantage. And fourth advantage, obvious advantage, is the amount of time and memory that is required for data mining algorithms will be reduced here. If you have got less number of dimensions, so it is going to take less amount of time and also less amount of memory to run your data mining algorithm. So this is about the advantage of, that is, dimensionality reduction. So first advantage is, so using dimensionality reduction, we can perform the very expensive data mining algorithms. They can efficiently work here. Reason is, see, in the less dimensional data, we will be having less number of attributes, and these less number of attributes will not be having irrelevant or the attributes that contain the noise. Okay, and also it is going to reduce the curse of dimensionality. And second advantage is, see, using the dimensionality reduction, we can form the models which are more understandable. If there are less number of dimensions of the attributes, then the model which you will be constructing, it will be very interpretable or understandable. That is second advantage. And third advantage is, using dimensionality reduction, you can easily perform the visualization. Less number of attributes will be represented in the graphical format, and it will be very easy to visualize such kind of data. And the fourth advantage is, say, the data mining algorithms, they will be requiring less amount of time and also memory to run, because the number of dimensions involved will be less here. Okay, so this is about the dimensionality reduction. Okay, so now you do one thing. Okay, just log out and log in for 10 more minutes. Okay, I'll just continue one more topic, and then I will take the attendance just for 10 minutes more. To log out and log in.